Hello everyone! It must be a special occasion if I'm making a video with my voice in it. I'm sure you saw the title, but I will be doing my very first tablet review. The wonderful people over at Ugee sent me their M908 pen tablet model to review for them in a video, and I will be doing just that. After I go over the unboxing and features, I'm going to use it for a speed paint and explain to you all my drawing process and how I do one layer coloring, kind of like a tutorial. So I hope you all will enjoy it just as much as I have. So first, the tablet. The M908 pen tablet has 16,000 levels of pressure sensitivity, which is crazy. For context, my current screen tablet only has around 8,000. The tablet also has 8 hotkeys, a scrolling wheel, and a generally very responsive surface. The M908 is also very good for any beginners when it comes to digital art, both usage and price-wise. So I definitely recommend it for people who are just getting into digital drawing. The whole package itself comes with, of course, the tablet, all neatly wrapped up, a USB cord and a USB-C adapter, which I was very happy about, a manual and warranty, a pen ring, a whole bunch of extra pen nibs, and of course the pen itself. The tablet had this very nice layer of film over its surface that you can watch me try to peel off for a little too long.
Good God.
One thing that immediately surprised me about this tablet is just how light it was. In fact, when I first got it in the mail, I didn't even think it was a tablet because it weighed like nothing. I haven't used a pen tablet in 5 or so years, and my current tablet monitor is freakishly heavy because it's a monitor, so just seeing how light it was in my hands was super refreshing. Like I could throw it in my backpack and take it with me to school, and I wouldn't even have to worry about carrying any extra weight. The tablet surface also has a very nice matte paper texture, which I liked a lot while I was drawing on it. One reason I can't draw on things like iPads or use Apple Pencils is because the surface is too slippery for me to draw on with a stylus. This Ugee, though, is just like if you're drawing on any other matte surface, which is great. Apparently, you can also connect this tablet to an Android phone or tablet to draw with, which is pretty cool. I've never heard of something like that until now, but unfortunately I don't have any Android devices so I couldn't try it out, but it's definitely a cool little extra feature. This is small, but I also really like the scroll wheel. It makes a nice clicking noise instead of just being loose, which allows for precision, and it's also just satisfying to use. With all that said, I'm going to show you all my drawing process as I use this tablet. I'll do my best to explain each step as thoroughly as I can, but for some steps I feel like there's not much to say. Like this one. Step 1. Super rough sketch. This stage is mostly just me trying to get a handle on anatomy and facial structure before I do anything else. Whenever I do bigger pieces, the rough sketch tends to be rougher, especially if I'm attempting anything particularly complex with anatomy and the like. Or, you know, it might just be messy because I'm having an off day and entirely forgot how to draw a torso, which happens all the time. Both are equally viable, I think. Step 2. Much cleaner sketch. This is where I actually start figuring out how I want some of the finer details to look. I've used my clean sketches as line art before, but in all honesty it depends on my mood. I've been on more of a thin and clean line art kick recently, so I'm not going to go out of my way to make my sketch too nice or anything. I spent a bit longer on the sketch than I usually would, mainly because I was just trying to get used to using the tablet. I have pretty bad coordination, but I was able to get the hang of using it pretty quickly. Step 3. Color the sketch. This step is just me being antsy. This is mostly just because I've been wanting to play around with my colors a bit more recently, so I skip line art and jump right into messy coloring. The thing that I like doing about this is that once everything's blocked in, I usually like to go in on top of my sketch and use the pen tool to just fix anything that might look weird or add more details. You get the idea. I didn't end up needing to do that for this drawing, but it's still something that I've been doing a lot in general. It gives me more confidence when going into doing line art that the drawing is going to actually look good. Speaking of which, step 4, line art. Guys, I'm gonna be so real with you. I forgot how exhausting it is to do line art on a pen tablet. But it's not Ugee's fault, okay? It's mine. I have no idea how other people do this, but whenever I draw with a tablet like this, or on my phone, or just anything outside of my usual, I use my whole arm to draw, usually to get like the sweeping motions for line art to be smooth and stuff like that. But that also turns drawing into a full body experience. God, it's like the opposite of how you want to play a violin. But anyway, My line art is pretty typical, I would say. I usually start out with thin strokes, and then go back to add more line weight later. Nothing too special or out of the ordinary. I just like adding a lot of hair strokes, mostly because it's fun. Step 5. I do all my colors on one layer. Ha 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 ha. I feel like I should explain myself with this one. Back in May or so of this year, I started doing all of my colors on one layer to save time when I was just doing sketches or doodles. But then I realized that I liked how all the colors were blending together with the brush that I was using. So I ended up slowly incorporating it into all of my fully rendered art until I found myself doing all of my paintings on one layer. You might have also noticed that I start with a solid color background before I go in and paint, because my brush isn't 100% opaque. This also gives me a nice pink tint for most of the drawings that I make. I mainly just use 2 brushes when it comes to my entire art process. Day Pencil 3, which is free to download on the Clip Studio Paint store, and the default oil flat brush. I use the Day Pencil for sketching, line art, and coloring, so essentially, it's my most favorite brush in the entire world and I can't live without it. The oil flat brush I use for coloring and blending, and it's really the only brush I use to block in colors, besides maybe the G pen. If you have any questions about my process, please feel free to leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer it. Step 6. Finishing up! Whoa, we're nearly done already! There's just a small handful of things that I do to close my process. First, I always color my line art, and I tend to make it light rather than dark. Especially if my line art is my cleanest work, I usually try to not have it stand out too much. Plus, I like the effect of having less saturated colors and more saturated line art. I just think it looks cool. Another important thing that I do is I add some shading over the whole drawing. This is in order to add some shadows that I couldn't really capture by manually painting. Well, at least not easily. In the past, I used this method of shading to make really dark shadows, but I feel like that's not really my style anymore. At least for nice soft drawings like these. Then after applying a few filters, the drawing is essentially done. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you again to Ugee for sending me this tablet to review. They're having a sale for Black Friday, which is coming up pretty quickly, so check in the description for some discounts to get an M908 or any other Ugee tablet for a good price. So far, I think it's a very high quality and nice tablet, so I honestly recommend it for anyone looking for a smaller, more portable pen tablet. I'm definitely going to keep using mine for school at the very least, just because of how light and easy to carry it is. Once again, if you have any comments or questions about Ugee or my art process, please feel free to leave a comment and I will do my best to answer. Bye, and thank you so much!